Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. It's Wednesday, March 15th, and this is my birthday. And I thought I would welcome our birthday guest here, Paul G.
Well,
Newton.
you're the birthday. I'm I,
I,
I'm just a guest.
I know. That's what I mean, birthday guest. Now, Paul G.
I'm
Newton,
proud to be on here for your birthday.
if you go to paulgnewton.com, you'll see that he's, the art of filmmaking, storytelling, life experiences. He's got a podcast.
Two.
Um, Two podcasts, like to rub it into. So he is podcast with humor, heart, and inhumanity. Oh, sorry, podcast.
In
heart,
humanity. No, that's correct. That is actually correct.
So, Paul, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Can you please give us a little bit about yourself and who is Paul G. Newton?
Yeah.
And go from there.
Oh, some call me the biggest idiot to ever live, just so you know. And that's okay, because feelings mutual, be honest with you. I started out, I live in Northwest Arkansas, which is I always tell the joke whenever somebody looks at me and I tell them I'm from Arkansas, and I can see the thoughts run through their brain. And so I always say, don't worry, Arkansas is not as backwards as you think it is. In 1992, we passed a law where everyone has to wear shoes. So we're catching up. We're catching up. I'm telling you.
That's cool.
No, Arkansas is actually, it's just we're just a different culture than everywhere else, because we're in the South, but we're also North. So we have all the good and we have all the good. No, not all the good. We have mostly the bad of both, I think is what it is.
Good thing I'm not from Arkansas then.
Yeah. Well, you sound like you're from Northeast somewhere, right?
I'm from Toronto, Canada, to tell you the truth.
Oh, Canada. Yeah. See, you say about.
About.
Oh,
no.
Dang it. He's
about.
Practiced. About. I went to school, and back in the 70s and 80s, was I went to school. I know, right? This Arkansans, this is like 1 in a million. There's only 2.5 million people in the States, so there's like 2 of us. When I went to school back then, in the South, and especially here where I am, being an artist of any type doesn't matter. You take the blanket umbrella artist, and that was frowned upon. So I had to wait till I was 36 years old before I could actually start doing art, which is my movies, my films, my writings, my screenplays, things like this podcast. They consider this non-essential stuff. I think I'm playing at all this. And it's just been aggravating for a long time, but I always did film and video and always did things like radio and things like that. When I was 10, I carried around a tape recorder and did my own radio show. And
I did the same thing.
Yeah. A lot of people that are in the podcast space, we all have done the same thing. And that's what makes you, it's what you like. It's what you do. It's who you are. It's in your blood. We're orators. We're the orators of the past, now with a new medium. And in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was no place for us to do our whatever it might be called. Orations. Yes. Exactly. We weren't allowed. There wasn't any place to do our orations. Back in the day, I guess, if you go back 200 years, stand up on the soapbox and say your spiel and then ask for money.
Those days.
Yeah. Well, I'm 473 years old now. So
I beat you. I'm 477 today.
Oh man, I'll catch up next year. Um, yeah,
I owe Abe Lincoln $90.
that's a lot of money. That's like
I
a
guess he
whole
can't.
ranch back
I
then.
guess he cancel the debt now. Anyway.
No, 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 no. You just, statute of limitations. It always ends with death. Oh, now I wonder, do you know this guy named Booth?
No, I've made a call in one though.
So I
Tell us
spent
tell us a
go
little
ahead.
bit more.
So I spent a lot of time playing, as they would call it, but I interned for photographer in school, portrait photographer. I mean, this is what I've always done. I worked for a radio station, went minimum wage,
Mm.
because all the guys that you listen to on the radio, if they're not national, they get minimum wage. Never got anything else. Um, and bought a video camera as soon as I could, which was a crappy, put a tape in it kind of thing. And then I went to selling insurance. I was thinking about going to college to become a psychiatrist, but it just didn't seem right for me. Although my secondary interest is human psychology, and I just
Well,
kind of go ahead.
I wanted to be a chiropractor, but it wasn't cracked up to me.
Wah, wah. I'm gonna have to put the sound effects in my board. I got that one. That's all I got right now. I need
But
the wah wah.
so sorry to interrupt you, and you mentioned that you wanted. Okay, so go ahead.
No, go
Continue with
ahead.
my call.
No,
So
it's a
what is
conversation. It's fine.
what is the best part about being a photographer? Like I was a photographer. I was actually main portrait photographer at the photo lab that we had down here, and there's always ins and outs, and sometimes they won't even come back to pick up the package
As long as they
because we
pay
had.
ahead of time.
Well, I don't know because I remember when one of the guys I knew from school came in with his girlfriend and they had woof, a professional portrait done,
It's
and they never
catching.
came back for it.
Weird.
So we lost a lot of money on that. But I'm a still photographer. I love using my iPhone, and I have a digital photographer.
Yeah. Well, I'm using my DSLR right now, or SLR right now, for the video that you're seeing here. And I've got my $1,500 light over here and a $200 catch light over here. So
Oh wow! I should,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's what I do. I already own the equipment, so why not use it? Put it to use, Um, as a photographer, I would consider photography my hobby part of my profession, because I'm more of a journalistic style. What you see, what I feel and see is what you're going to get in the final photo.
Like WYSIWYG.
Maybe. I do tend to play with the colors and Photoshop a little bit, but I don't like doing the compositing that a lot of the new photographers do. They all use compositing to take a bunch of different photos and they Photoshop them together. It's not it's not true. It's not real. So as far as photography is concerned, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how to do it professionally. I can do it all day. I will not shoot family or children or anything like that. That's for sure.
That's interesting. Why would you say that?
Because I have no interest in it, to be honest with you. I have no interest in taking pictures of your little baby. You got a phone on you, right? This is what I tell people. They call, "Can you take pictures of my baby?" I said, "You got a phone, right?" "Yeah." "Do it yourself," because I don't want to do it.
I know what you mean. You're talking about still life that has no people in it. You're not saying that you won't just shoot people doing something to make the photograph.
Now
Look
that
good.
I will do. That I
Mhm.
will do. It's just if you want me to stick your baby in front of a white background or whatever, I have no interest. But I do love catching photos of. So there's some photos on my website. If you go and look, there of a costume photo shoot that I was forced to do when I was dating by the chick I was dating. Ugh. And I love those. Those are cool. And if you look at it though, the overarching style is all cinematography. It's like a still from a cinema, it's from a movie. And I even went so far as to print one off and hang it on the wall. But yeah, filmmaking when it comes to camera work is my passion.
So, if you were to take a photo of your girlfriend or member of your family or someone, but make it interesting, because you say that even though you have a deep appreciation of capturing human experience and you're delving into the mystery psychology of the human condition, how would you make that? How would you emanate that from the photo so someone looks at it and say, "Wow, this guy's captured the human experience and the mysteries of psychology"? How would you
That's
do
a
it?
rough one because for me it's natural.
Mm.
I've always been able to do it. I've always been able to express myself in my photography. So it's some people are built to fly fighter jets, some people are built to sell, and some people are built to take that type of photography, and it's just innate. I mean, I learned the golden rule, rule of thirds, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
I understand how to compress my background with the zoom lens. I understand that it's the benefits of shooting with a 35 over a 55, and then if I'm doing it, to an 85, I get it. There's places for everything. But I just know, when I do it, it's one of those innate talents that I always had that because I've done the work and the education that it takes behind it, my work actually excels far above what I could just do without, just on my own.
Well, I think that the newest iPhone, I realize, like, I've been a photographer for a while. I took a photography course, and we did um, we did landscape. We had to photograph balls and cylinders and circles, just because it's supposed to represent the human body and the shadows in the studio,
Yeah.
and also learning the difference between a digital zoom and an optical zoom. And the
Yeah.
optical zoom is the way you wanna go, because a digital zoom, all you're doing is taking a picture and then you're expanding just
Yeah.
it larger.
You're
Optical
you're
zoom is you.
yeah, the digital zoom, all you're using is you're using less pixels, so the
Yeah.
image is less detailed, and it's harder to develop. So yeah, as an actual physical zoom is going to allow you to use your entire sensor, which is going to allow you to crop, or it gives you better control over your sharpness. It gives you better control over your bokeh because
Oh.
yeah, everything is there. And if you shoot with a digital zoom, you're literally cropping now. So why not just take the full photo and crop later?
So what are your 2 podcasts? Like, what are you trying to show people in your, you said you had 2 podcasts. Is each of them for, like, filmmaking, or one of them is for something totally different?
Now, my podcasts are basically what we're doing right here is we take a subject for things I want to know. And things I want to know is with Andrea. She's my fiance, and it was her idea. She told me to do it, so okay, we'll do it. I was in a real dark spot and didn't know what to do, and I was not having a good time at life when I wasn't around her,
Mhm.
and because we don't live together. Um, and that is a specific topic or profession, and we talked to an expert on it for about an hour, hour and a half. Now, Paul G's Corner, it was birthed out of having all of these people who wanted to be on the main podcast, Andrea and I. And I'm like, I got all these guests, these people. I got like 200 people that wants to be on a podcast. And I just thought to
Wow.
myself, you know what? I can use these people to for this other podcast. Let them get their voice out, talk about what they want to talk about,
Wow.
and At the same time, I'm also promoting the other podcasts. So it's kind of a mutual relationship between each one. And then very similar to the same. I think Paul G's Corner, which is Paul G's Corner, is a podcast that's about the person that I'm interviewing, not a subject, not a profession, but it's about, I try to make it about them and who they are and what they like and how they move through life. It's more of an interpersonal experience with those folks rather than, talking about joint pain or cannabis or, so we got a criminal psychologist coming on this week that will be released next week for Things I Want to Know. And that's super interesting. And we're talking about criminals the whole time, but we're not talking about the woman who's the actual psychologist other than to get to know her a little bit and develop some rapport.
Yeah, we had a hypnotherapist who's an actual soprano, and she teaches anybody in the music field to be able to, especially if they have anxiety, to be able to take their deep breath. She's a yoga instructor, and it was pretty interesting. And if you're a drafts person or you're a surfer and you're in a band, that's a plus. If you're a podcaster, that's a plus. We're really excited to have you on. Now, when you mentioned to your fiance Andrea about, well, when she talked to you about having a possible podcast, did you look at her and say, Andrea, if I start this, that means at one point you're going to be on the podcast?
Oh, I told her right off the bat, if we're going to do this, you and I are going to do it. I wasn't going to do it by myself because I was if you listen to the first podcast, my language is so blue. And for the people under 35, blue means just not safe for work. And I went back and listened to that and I was like, oops, I better clean up my words. So, cause that's where the space I was in. So it's allowed me to get out of that space and start to be a better person.
Yeah, you do have the radio voice, the baritone voice. Can you say for us, introducing our next song, Britney Spears? Go.
So, everybody that's listening out there, there's a brand new song coming out from this wonderful artist that we've all heard before. Yes, I know, but you're going to like it, maybe. Britney Spears and her new song, Jiggle My Ass.
Wow, you are breath of fresh air, my friend. And that is excellent. Yeah, you do have the radio voice.
Well, I used to work for a radio station too,
Yeah, you
so
mentioned
yeah,
that.
I was a professional singer for a while. And if you do it right and you practice, you lose your, I gained my accent back, but most of it's gone.
Oh, wow. So you don't sing anymore?
Karaoke, things like that. I don't. There's no. People from Northwest Arkansas, if they watch this or listen to this, they're going to hate me because from what I'm about to say, but I feel it's true. Northwest Arkansas is the armpit of music. We need an armpit. We need the armpit. I mean, don't get me wrong. We need it. And sometimes, if you put the right stuff on it, it smells good. But a lot of times it doesn't. And unfortunate for that. But we're getting better because they started growing some big venues. We've got the Amp, which is an outdoor amphitheater for rock and modern musicians.
Wow.
We've got and a couple of other small theaters. I'm having to go see a ballet.
No problem.
So we're getting better. For a long time it was just the Dixon Street Strip, which is right by the campus, is where all the college kids went and drank. So we had George's Majestic Lounge, which has been around for a while. And every now and again, we get a good band through there. But it's been picking up. I just think that the way the open venues cost so much, I don't see how it's sustainable for if we end up in a deep recession. I don't see how they're going to be able to. The musicians are going to keep doing the live performances in the big arenas. At the
during the pandemic,
$300.
Live auditions, live performances are actually on Zoom. people had to pay even money just to get a ticket to watch the person. Like the
I would not
pandemic
do that.
really hit the opera.
Oh
Really.
yeah, people like opera. Yeah, we had an opera singer on the podcast on Things I Want to Know. She was talking about what it's like to be in the life of an operatic singer. And the good news is that 90% of them have to have another job anyway.
Mhm.
So didn't really affect her too much. But
But so what would be your formula for healing up challenging situations?
what do you mean?
Like if, like for instance, you mentioned that you have had a divorce,
Oh
and
yeah.
during that dark time, how were you able to
Oh, it wasn't a dark time. The dark time was before the divorce.
really? Okay.
Yeah. When I swiped that credit card to pay my $1,500 to the lawyer to get divorced, all of a sudden, as soon as I swiped it and walked outside, I'm like, boy, the air smells so much better. And wow, the sky is so much more blue.
Wow.
So it was absolutely wonderful, and it still is wonderful that I shed that albatross that I was married to.
Well, can you then share the story of how you found yourself in an Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore movie?
I know it sucks because I literally went on 51 first dates after I got divorced. In 9 months I dated 51 women at least once. About
Wow.
12, well, yeah, about 12 of them I had many relationships with, but first thing I told was all of them is that I'm dating and I'm seeing a bunch of different people at once. I'm just upfront. I don't want 5 women in my front yard fighting. So I just and I did. I dated 5 women at one time for about 2 weeks, and God, that was exhausting.
Wow.
Um, but it's weird because it was still kind of pandemic-y. You were still sort of in there, and probably almost all 12 of the girls that I dated more than twice, um, with the exception of maybe one, they came to the house on the first date. I didn't have to go anywhere.
Oh no.
They did it. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. But to their credit, all of these women, they basically, we talked on the phone and things like that, of course. So, they knew they could trust me because I'm not rapey. I can tell you that. And it's
Ouch.
weird. Anybody out there that's listening, if you think you're too ugly, too fat, too skinny, whatever, to be able to date like that, it's all about your personality. Because I was always a 290-pound man the entire time.
Wow.
And yeah, and they didn't care. And I'm just going to be obtuse here a little bit. I got enough play to make a college kid, feel jealous.
That's interesting. Because I was on the
It's
keto diet. I lost 24 pounds, so it actually does work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the weight is causing you to feel insecure, it's going to come across, and the person you're trying to date will notice. Um, if it doesn't matter to you and you don't care what they think, that's something that most women chase after.
So is
Weird,
Andrea
right?
number 52? It's really weird.
51. She's 51.
She was 51, and then you just
Yeah.
didn't want to go on, or she had the
No,
chemistry.
no.
Didn't all the other 51s have?
I had a list of 13 things, 14 things that they had to be. They could only violate 2 of those rules.
And she
And when they got,
fulfilled all 4. She
I
fulfilled the
did.
whole list?
She didn't break any of the rules that I had on my list, and I didn't tell
Wow.
her about the list. She didn't know about the list until after I'd already decided. Okay, that's okay. And you trying to, I say, I wasn't dating to sleep around. I was dating to find somebody I could trust, be with, and have a relationship with.
That's what I'm looking
Um,
for.
yeah, and I had to make without the list. Well, and you got to realize I spent probably 5-6 hours a day. I was messaging or talking to at least 12 to 20 women on text to get that many dates. I mean, I just use my old salesman techniques that I learned when I was selling insurance, and bam, I was determined.
But weren't you afraid that you would go into a restaurant with one of the women and the other
Eh,
one you dated was in there with her new
yeah,
boyfriend?
I wasn't worried about that. If she's got a new boyfriend, screw her. I don't really care. Um, I told every one of them I'm actively dating. I'm seeing other people. Uh, I made sure they knew that right off the bat. And if they would,
Hmm.
some of them would ask me how many, and I'd say 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Um, and say, how long? What's your deepest relationship? I said, well, if I get into a good relationship, I did this once. I got into this relationship with a woman a little older than me, but she was still cute and all that goodness. She's a good woman. We're not a match. It took 3 months to figure that out. But
Oh, wow.
um, wow. Uh, you know, if I was something more, little bit more long term, then I cut off. I quit texting and setting up more dates.
How did you deal with, well, I'd like to see you again after the first date? I've had that with women, and some of them I had to ghosted because they love the date so much. They say, I can't wait to see you again. And I'm like, okay. So how do you, what would you
And you didn't
say?
like them? You didn't like them at all?
Um, I don't know if they violated anything on the list. I'm not going to sit down with the woman. Okay, I'm going to give you
No, never tell
my.
them your list. Never tell them your list. Absolutely not. That's a death sentence for the relationship if you tell them the list before you've decided what they have or haven't done on it. Because when you show them the list, when you finally tell them the list, because you should, if you find somebody that meets all the requirements, you explain to them this is why. And I wrote next to it. I had each girl had a little blurb on paper, and I would make more, and I would write down why, either positive or negative. And it's like, I just, if they hit 3, I would be like, I'm not sure this is going to work out, because, and then I would address the problem that I had with them violating one of the rules that bothered me the most. And if they didn't want to cooperate with that, then I knew it was done and over. Um, and but man, if you don't have that list, though, it's very difficult to find someone permanent,
What were you
because
really looking for that you had to have a list?
well, I had a list of things that I didn't like, I didn't want repeated in my life.
Okay.
And that's I I had to make that list with the first. Okay, so I used to go. So I go to the smoke shop every now and again. I used to go every other day, definitely every Saturday, because that was my routine. And there was a girl there who really liked me. She's 27, 28 years old.
Ooh,
I,
dating the youngers.
oh no, I've gone lower than that. Um, the I'd date anybody that came along. I didn't care. I give everybody at least one shot. So, but I'm walked in there, I'm getting the divorce. I'm not, the paperwork's filed, judge signed off on it. But Arkansas, you have to wait 30 days before the divorce is final. Uh, so whatever, who cares? I really don't care. What does that matter? But anyhow, she cared about that. Well, I went in there and I was hitting on the redhead that was in there. I was like, "Hey, how's it going? That's good. Hey, you're pretty cute." Kind of, not in that way, but I was putting my moves on her. Then she looked up at me and she says, "Oh, I'm married and I got like 6 kids." And she did. She wouldn't lie. And I went, "Oh, okay. All right." And then the other girl's like, "Hey." And I gave her so I literally, this trick worked. I gave her a business card and said, "If you're interested in talking to me, go ahead and send me an email or text." And I walked out. Gave her my business card. That worked more than once. it's the trick is to not let them know you're interested in them, and they'll chase you harder. That's really weird, but it works. So this girl's she's coming over to my house, talking to me, texting me all the time, but she's like, "Oh no, I gotta go," things like that. But when my divorce was final, the last day, 30th day, she came over to the house, and she was the only one that showed up for my divorce party, which was kind of pissy of my friends, which
Hmm.
really led me to know who my friends really aren't.
Hmm.
So, and then the next day, she gets off work early, comes over, and it's just on. The whole everything you can imagine between a man and a woman when the man first gets divorced and the woman really likes him happened. Okay. Yeah, it's just she was chasing me and I was kind of giving her the cold shoulder, so it made her run harder. So I ended up with my rebound relationship was this chick who I wasn't initially attracted to, but gave her my card because why the hell not? That relationship got so messed up. I dated her for 3 months. It got so messed up. I didn't date anybody else. That list, my long story here. That list is the impetus of the list is dating her. I had to figure out if I liked her or not. So I made this list and I found that she violated like 9 of the 10 rules or something like that. And I realized that this isn't going to work. It has to be over. But after that, then I said, you know what? I'm going to keep using that list. And I added a couple of things. And that's where that list came from and why I used it, because it was out of self-defense from this chick who was absolutely insane. And, at least she didn't ask me for money. She bought me stuff. So that was cool.
Well, that's an interesting story. I know that the women I dated, there was always no chemistry, and
Yeah.
I used dating services and dating sites for years, and one of them was Lava Life, which I don't know, people have success with it, and then there was something called telepersonals. Yeah, I'm predating myself, and I'm saying like,
Telegram dating. Is that what you're saying?
why am I doing this? I was in a dark place too. So, it's sort of like I don't really. I mean, I do have a list, but it's in my mind. But I know that there's 2 girls that I dated, and I don't want anybody like that. So I know in my mind that I don't want
Yeah.
anybody that has this sort of attitude, that sort of attitude. But I do want someone who likes to joke around, who likes to have life, who likes to appreciates me for who I am, not telling me I have
Yeah.
to do this or do that. Not text me all the time, ask me where I am all the time, and that's what I want. And if they have millions of dollars, then I'd be thinking twice, because I know that at one point, the mother of someone I knew said they thought I was going out with her because I wanted her money, and I
Oh,
didn't.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So,
go ahead.
yeah. But what makes Andrea so special? Is it just the chemistry? She didn't violate the things on the list, but was there
She's
something
very
that
much she's
you
very
wish
much
she
like
had, but
me.
she doesn't? Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she's very much like me. We match. We're
Hmm.
like Legos. Where she's I call being I use the word deficient, but it's not in a negative context. So deficient, if I'm lighting a scene, but I don't like the setting, the furniture or the paint or something like that, I'm deficient on fixing that. And it's just something I'm not good at. So I
Hmm.
hire somebody to come in and do that for me. Um, that's a good manager. A director is ultimately a manager. Um, yeah, a good director is ultimately a manager. So for Andrea, where she's deficient, I fill in that gap, and where I'm deficient, she fills in that gap. So we're kind of like Legos. It just works.
I think you're a blessed man, my friend. I wish I found someone that was like that too. My last relationship, mom was like, I have to be walking on eggshells to be around her. It was terrible.
They couldn't live with me because I would just be like, look, you're going to have to stop. I'm too noisy for that.
But I couldn't really date 50 or 51 women actually, because I like to take one and just, see what they're like before I make a decision. Yeah, you want to, you know, we're going to date for a while until we feel that, we need to get married, whatever. But
I
to
understand
handle
that.
where like you handle someone and they're like, I really enjoyed the day, I like to see you again. I'm like, instead of saying no, I'm like, you know and then
Well,
you don't
here's
talk
how
to
I
them again.
handled stuff like that. If I wasn't interested in them or they just didn't, the chemistry wasn't there, I was like, ugh, you know, I can't date with someone with three noses, something like that, right? Just to be obtuse and bad and reductive. Um, in that situation, when they say, "Can I see you again?" I've never had them look at me straight in the eye and ask me if I can see them, like that. I've never had that happen, and it may be a generational difference. Um, but whenever that happens, something like that happens, I'd be like, "Sure, we can," and I'm not lying because we could, right? Um, but if I don't want to talk to them, I'm gonna say, "How's your morning?" And they say, "Yeah, yeah, da da da, yada yada." Cool. I appreciate the date last night. Okay, and I'm just not going to ask them out again. And one thing I was really good at is breakups.
Mm.
And none of, except for one woman, there was only one that was totally pissed and obsessed with me. Well, two that were obsessed, but she was pissed. This is different from the other one. She was pissed and obsessed with me when I broke up with her. And I just I can't see you anymore. It's just not going to work out for me. And you're a lovely woman. I hope you the best. I think it's time to walk away. Um, she got mad at me for that, and she kept coming by my house. But anyway,
Wow.
when most of the time when I broke, if you take something away from somebody, sometimes all they can think about is getting it back, even if they, even if it will end the world for them if they bring it
I
back.
know.
That's just human beings. But most of the women, I mean, they understood, and the only one I had a real hard time with, other than the very, very first one, because I was rebounding, um, was the one lady who we came to an agreement that we can be, we're good friends, but that's as far as it's ever going to be. Because she wanted stuff that I wasn't willing to give, and I'm not going to go into that on air because it's very private. But I'm still friends with all of them except for the one who was totally pissed at me. And it's just,
Hmm.
I just got really good at breakups. I mean, they know it's over. They're probably sitting there thinking, I think it's over. I'm not sure. Well, let's see what he thinks. No, I agree with you. um, yeah, it's wow. The dating experience, the dating experience is completely changed when you and I were young men. Oh my God, it's different. Women now are more promiscuous than I've ever encountered women to be.
I agree with you. It's so difficult because you don't know, they put up this bitch shield, and it's like they've been
I
broken or they've
hate
been hurt
that.
by other
That's
relationships.
yeah.
I know. And
Everybody's
you're thinking
everybody's
that
always broken.
yeah, you're thinking that you're thinking that you're the one that can break it. Well, you need a
Not
pretty
me.
big sledgehammer because she's going to say, "Well, good luck because my shield is made out of bulletproof glass." You know.
I'm not here to. I was never there to fix them. No, if they wanted to fix it, they find somebody else because Paul's going to do what Paul. My mantra is, I am me. I do what I want, and That's it. And if you can't put up with that, so this is the reason for the list, because I had to weed out the women who couldn't put up with that ultimately, but are willing to put up with it initially. Um, I do what I want, and if I'm, it's like I keep telling Andrea, I'm giving you this stuff, and she goes, "Well, you don't have to do that for me. I love you anyway." I was like, oh, I understand that, but I want to do this for you." You know, she's like, "Well, I know you hate going to the ballet." Yeah, yes, but I want to do this for you, right? So I bought the tickets for her because she would never do it because she knows I'd hate it. Well, I don't know if I'll hate it or not. I've never been to it at ballet. I'm pretty sure it's.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm front loaded a little bit negative on it, but I've never been to one, so we'll see. You know, but I've always had to explain to her I want to do this. And so if some chick would come to me and say, I want to do this, this, and this, and I'd be like, nah, you know, I don't really want to do that. And I don't
Hmm.
feel that big of a connection with you to want to do that for you. And that's when I knew, if I had that thought, I knew I'm this person's on the short list to get cut, because I'm not gonna date her anymore.
Well, I totally agree with you, Paul, because like I want someone who, because I'm a musician myself, I'm a tenor. I would love it if they were some sort of musically inclined. They were a singer, soprano, mezzo soprano. They played an instrument. They loved going to musicals. They loved going to plays because my mother loved going to plays, and I love going to plays. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, so, hey, I really like you, but do you like musicals? You like music? No, I hate music. I don't like leaving my house. I like sitting on the couch. Okay,
Bye.
then get up and walk
Yeah.
away. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Bye.
But in Andrea's case, is she the jealous type when you tell her all these stories and when she knows about all these other women you dated?
That's the biggest understatement of the century right there. Which I like. That was one of my requirements, is they had to have at least a little bit of a jealous streak.
That's taboo there. That's mostly you don't want someone who's jealous.
But you don't want someone who doesn't care either.
I know that's sort of like a really, really hectic boundary there. It's like
Mhm.
so
It is.
unless she knows my sisters and unless she knows like other girls that I know that I like to hang around with, if she says to me, "Who's that person? Who's that? Who are you on the phone with?" Then I'm no, excuse me, are you being
No,
obsessive?
Andrea doesn't
Or are
do
you
that.
being jealous? No.
Andrea doesn't do that. So she doesn't take it to that extreme. Um, she gets jealous, but she knows. Told all the women, I said, I'm friends with everyone, and I'll have women coming around because do I do photography, I do movies,
Hmm.
I record stuff for people, things like that. There's going to be women, beautiful women, eventually you're going to see them coming around every now and again, and you can't be jealous of that because it's part of my job. Now, you can be concerned, but not jealous.
So what about Andrea? Does she part of your subject matters and does she request, okay, if you're gonna get me on film, you have to see the back of my head so nobody knows who it is. Is she like
No, she'll do it.
oh,
She knows. Honestly, she is a natural on. I couldn't. Is. It's so weird because she should have done what I do. She should have been trained to do what I do. She's
hmm,
a natural. She and I are she's just as natural as I am. She can't take a
wow.
photograph worth of crap, but that's another. Not everybody can do it. Um, but when it comes to talking and being open and being funny and it's she and I do. It's she's a natural, and it really surprised me that she could do it, and I'm so proud of her for doing that, being that way.
What was the last romantic thing she's done for you?
That's subjective, because what I find romantic, other people may be like ho hum everyday life. We went to Silver Dollar City, and we're standing looking at stuff, and she walks up behind me and puts her hands on me, and like gives me like that half hug kind of thing from
Mm.
and I'm like, "You getting nostalgic?" She goes, "Yeah, it's making me think of my grandma." And that for me, that's I know what my love language is. My love language is physical touch.
Yeah. Everyone wants to have that physical touch and other type of
Not
touch as
everybody
well.
does. Not everybody does. That's what I
Well,
found out
also,
dating those
yeah,
women.
I wouldn't want a woman that doesn't even want to be touched. I know exactly what you mean. But
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend for 7 years, and her hugs were amazing. She made me feel warm and comfortable and safe, but her breath stunk, so I could never kiss her. And I
Oh,
wasn't gonna
just
say,
get some
"Hey."
Tic Tacs.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Internal
That
temp high needs what happened
yeah,
there?
it's camera's overheating. Let me see.
Uh-oh.
It'll come back eventually.
Does it take you long to make crucial decisions?
Sometimes. Depends on the circumstances.
So, I know that, one of my nieces, whatever, she's a parachutist. She actually trains people jump out of planes, and I'm afraid of heights. So she said, "If you ever want to jump out of a plane, let me know, and she'll help me out with that." But the thing is I'm afraid of heights. I always sometimes dream about falling off a building. Let's say when you met Andrea, everything was perfect. She didn't violate any of your lists, and then she says, "So let's go skydiving." What would your answer be?
I'm too fat. They won't let me on the plane.
The plane will crash before you get a chance to jump out, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, I'd have to be under 225 to be able to jump out of an airplane.
I didn't know there was actually,
The
you know,
parachutes only hold so much, and then you get too much velocity.
I was wondering why they had 2 parachutes in case you're
Well,
overweight.
no, that's in case the other parachute's gone. You look up, there's no parachute. Ah, throw the rescue chute.
Tell us about
Okay.
the award-winning, tell us about the films that you make. Like, what are the genres of films that you make?
Mostly suspense, psychological thriller kind of stuff. That's what I enjoy making. Um, it does sometimes become difficult to make that due to the lack of lack of actors that have the experience needed to pull off the plot.
Okay, so if you wanted to get an actress or actor to start crying, how would they
That's
be
up
able
to
to do
them.
that?
I hit them in the head with a sledgehammer.
Was there a difficult scene that you couldn't do that took you a while to do?
No, and if the actor can't pull it off, and we're all there doing this, if it's a paid gig, then we'll work on it until it gets done. But if it's a freelance or freebie gig, then yeah, we're going to we're just going to print after 4 or 5 takes. That's all you can do.
So how do you find your actresses or actors?
Usually through a talent agency,
And do they request payment?
sometimes, and it depends on the gig what I'll do for them.
So basically, if I were to take one of my scripts or whatever that I have and I want to start filming, I need an actor or actress. Do I go to a talent agent and yes, and we're willing to pay them, but we really don't
No,
want to pay
you
them. We're
set the
just
terms
looking.
down. You
You
set the
set the
terms down
terms.
ahead of time. You decide if you're going to pay. If you're willing to pay them, then tell them this is how much. If you aren't willing to pay for it, if you need it done for free, you just tell them right ahead of time, and you don't negotiate that because it just ends up being hurt feelings. And don't give them $5. Don't give them $20 for showing up for a 4-hour shoot. Just say it's free. We'll buy you lunch
Sometimes the actors and actresses can be your friends, and they'll do it for
for
free
free.
just to get
Yeah,
some scenes, and then they can show that they ever want to go and reach out
yeah.
and they can say, "Listen, I was in this movie. I was in that movie." You know,
Well,
that's possible.
I run a nonprofit called Arts and Entertainment Council, and we teach people how to actually work on a film set. Um, not
Mm.
be a star, but if you walk on a set, this is what you're expected to do. And I tell the actors, and they hate this answer, but it's true. If you don't have a resume, if you don't have a reel, take every part offered to you.
Mm.
Every part, doesn't matter what they're paying or if they're not paying. You need that reel and you need the practice. It's okay to practice on a film no one's going to see. If it's a short student film, the only people that are generally going to see it, especially if it sucks, are the people in the school. And practice, practice, practice. You got to put your 10,000 hours in before you become a good at anything. And then, of course,
Wow.
that's not necessarily true, the 10,000 hours, but at the same time, it is the emphasis on it is more of practice, you know. So take every role you can. That's my and they hate it because I want to be an actor and make $1 million. Well, you're not going to make $1 million if you haven't been in anything.
That's true. That's true.
That's right. You know, you're not Leonardo DiCaprio, and even Leonardo DiCaprio, when he got his first big role, he'd already been in like 200 commercials and been an extra and all this other stuff as a kid. You know, so unless you got family in the business who are going to automatically give you the role, like Nicolas Cage, his uncle is Francis Ford Coppola.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, he didn't want to ride his uncle's coattails, and he tried very hard to do his own thing. But I guarantee you, most of the people at the beginning said, "Oh, that's Coppola's kid or Coppola's nephew. Hell yeah, put him on here. Maybe we can get some money out of him for our next film." Because it's all about who's going to pay for the next film.
I know he was born as Nicholas Coppola, but he chose Cage because he wanted to set out on his own. But yeah, it wasn't really working. But his uncle was a really good director, and he has a sister, I
Yeah,
believe. I don't know if
yeah.
she's in the entertainment
She
industry.
did
I
a
can't
couple
remember
of
her
things,
name.
and I think that's about it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, everybody knew who he was. You know, you go to you go to the to the screening of the new Coppola film, and there's Nick Coppola running around. You remember who those people are because if I got Spielberg to, and he signed off and said, "I love this script, you should make it," it's getting made, right? Coppola at the time, same thing.
So do you remember Roddy McDowell?
Yeah.
He was played one of the apes, right?
Okay.
Well, he actually when he started in films, I remember his film saw him in was Murder in the Family. It was 1938. He was young, and obviously all the movie parts that he got was because not only just that first film, but he was in a lot of them. He was in Murder in the Family, I See Ice with George Formby, John Halifax, and Scruffy, and those were all filmed in 1938. And Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, was in Growing Pains. So obviously, he's going to get his movies and his parts. But if you're just coming out of talent agency and say, I want to do a movie, they'll see your resume and don't see any films on it.
Well, and you could still get the job if you audition correctly. Auditioning is the biggest thing, and just because you don't get selected for a part when you audition does not mean that you are terrible or suck or bad. What that means is you'll find the director or the director or the producer were looking for something slightly different or someone different. They say they wanted somebody with blue eyes versus green eyes. You will lose a part just because the color of your eyes, even though they could put contacts in you and make them the color they want. It's so subjective. It's like and it's also the same thing for screenwriting contest or filmmaking contests or film festivals. If you get in, you're good enough. You're better than good because they get thousands of other submissions. If you make it in the top 10, you've won, even though you didn't win. Because at that point, it's all about taste and not talent.
Do you think the actors that played the killer, Michael Myers, is Michael Myers?
Yeah,
No,
that Halloween
Halloween. Yeah, I
doesn't
was thinking of
matter.
the
We get
one.
what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah, Jason
Halloween.
Voorhees or Michael
Yeah,
Myers in Friday the 13th or Halloween. Do you think they got paid more because they didn't have to
no,
say a word?
no.
It's more
They got
physical? No?
they they probably didn't get paid any more than what they were, because most of the time those guys are grips, which is people who are doing lighting and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was every scene is I mean, for the majority of the those movies, it's the same guy in the suit, right? But there's no guarantee that that scene and the next scene are the same dude because he's
That's
covered up. You
true. I
can't
never
see
thought
him.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they used multiple people for those roles, and it's like whatever. Now, if you're on a SAG set and you have no lines, um, you're going to get extra pay. If the main actor or the focus of the film interacts with you and you have to do something, you get a little bit more pay. Um, if they're talking to you and doing something where you're featured, like if you're a kidnapped person that they're after, and as they come in, the special forces comes in to save you. Oh no, the guard shoots them, but you've never said anything the entire movie. You get paid regular scale, which is I think $1,700 a day right now.
Yeah, but sometimes you may get paid for being there, but they may not use your hands because
Right,
your hands don't look good. So they'll use another actor's hands. So
right. You still
who
get
gets
paid the same rate, and then the other
really?
person gets paid the same rate. Because it's
That's
a
interesting.
focus. It's focus. Yeah, it can get real. The union can make it very expensive to make a film if you're not careful.
That's why it's good to make your own.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you want to have the problem is that if you want to make a film that you want to get accepted into all these organizations and blah blah blah, it has to be a SAG AFTRA film, and good luck getting those in. I mean, it's almost impossible to get a- anything better than an indie under the radar a deal from the guilds.
Have you ever had like any famous celebrity in any of your movies or met any famous celebrities who were interested in performing in your movie?
Oh, the guy from Battlestar Galactica. Oh, what was his name? He died a few years ago. Oh my, Robert Hatch. Is that him?
Oh, you're talking
Robert
about Richard Hatch,
Richard Hatch. Yeah, Richard Hatch. He was
the
gonna.
original
We
guy.
were. Yeah, we were in talks with him. We were my writing buddy Donald Upton. We were in talks with him. We were going to get it going. We were going to get this film off the ground. We were in the
Wow.
very initial funding stages, and he died.
Yeah, that was a
I
tragedy.
mean,
I
he
loved him.
literally died. I mean, it was like 3 weeks later, and he's dead. I was like, holy.
Yeah, in the original Battlestar Galactica,
Hmm.
with Dirk Benedict and Richard Hatch. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
I
he was
mean,
in the new star. He was in the new Battlestar Galactica as a different
yeah,
character.
yeah, because the girl, oh, what's her name? She played Buck Rogers. Um,
Aaron
Katie
Gray.
Sackhoff. Katie Sackhoff.
Oh, Katie Sackhoff. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Katie Sackhoff. Yeah, they had a female Starbuck this time.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've had our brushes with it, but it really isn't all in who you know. So if you want to get into film and into the film business and start climbing the ladder, staying in Mississippi or Arkansas or Kentucky or Missouri isn't going to help you. You need to go to a big state like Texas, Seattle, go out of state, out of country for like Vancouver. Uh, Florida might help you, but not necessarily. Georgia for sure, especially if you're a minority actor or minority that wants to be in the film business. Go to Georgia. Um, they that's whole studio down there is a BET type studio, Black Entertainment Television, and
Hmm.
they'll select you even if you don't have that much experience to help you get in the business. If
That's
you're a minority, of course.
Yeah. Well, with all your filming schedules and trying to get scenes done and the actors and actresses, how do you deal with the stress? Like, do you have a certain type of music piece, classical music to listen to, or do you like to just
Me,
meditate in silence?
for me, it's such a fun process that I don't. I may be stressed out, but as soon as the problem's solved, I'm like super happy. So it is my meditation a lot of times.
And going out with your fiance and stuff like that too.
Yeah. She likes to cook for me, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, you want someone who can cook. I went out with someone who
I'm
didn't cook anything for me.
I can't cook anything for her because everything I cook is very fattening, and she's like, "I can't eat that. I've got to keep my figure." I'm like, "Okay. Then you get to make dinner if you're gonna be that picky." I'm
So,
damn near a gourmet chef, actually, but that's okay.
oh, that's awesome. What would be your one advice that you would give to newbies in the industry?
Do the work. Don't complain. Um, be assertive. Help when you can. Don't get in the way.
That's it.
Well, if you do that, I mean, every situation is different. I mean, every situation is different. Every film set you set, see, films are not, even though the writing process and then when you're done with it, it feels like it's the same damn movie you've seen 400 times.
Touche.
Unfortunately, yeah, what that's not how it, that's not, actually not how filming works. It's not it's very much an artistic endeavor by everyone that's involved in having one person who is bucking the system without trying to help. You could buck the system and help. But if you're not trying to help, if you're just trying to tear everybody down, what one person can ruin the entire movie because it is a fragile piece of art.
Or get fired like some main actors and actresses that were fired from the movie because of their attitudes.
That's why so many people put up with the attitudes of the actor because you know what you get when you hire them. So you prepare for it. It's get them a bunch of assistants so that way they'll leave everybody alone. They can bug the assistants, you know. Um, Kevin Spacey kind of people though, they bother me. I hope I never run into somebody like him. He's a
Really?
he's a magnificent actor,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a terrible person. Sadly.
That's
And you just
interesting.
Google it. Just Google it, and you'll find. I don't need to go into it. Just Google it. You'll be like, "Oh shit, this guy's fucking creep." So
He was one of my favorite actors before I heard
he's a
that little
damn
incident
good
that he
actor.
did with.
Well, it wasn't the first time. It's him and Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein. Those three guys are awful people,
Hmm.
but they got the job done in whatever they were doing. But they were still awful people. So it's it's everywhere. I mean, whether you're a trash collector or a CEO of a company, there's gonna be people there that suck, and there's gonna be people there that are good. Latch onto the people that help you, on a film set and in the film community.
So
And
are there three work conditions that make you most productive?
it really, I sounded like a broken record when it comes to making films. Each film's different. Each
Mm.
because different people are on the film. So because different people are on the film, it changes the way the entire dynamic works. So you have to set it as a director, you have to set it up. You have to set it up in a way, be somewhat selective unless their talent outweighs their attitude. And sometimes you accept the bad because it's so good.
I like that, Paul. You were mentioning earlier, okay, you mentioned that you had two podcasts, but you said one that you had literally 200 people lined up to be on it, or was that just you're
Oh
kind
no,
of
I'm booked out. Both podcasts are booked out till June right now.
really?
Yeah.
How did
I
you
do
make that
three.
happen?
There's a place called Pod Match, I think it is. No, Podcast, Pod something. I don't know. And they've agreed to blast me to their subscribers that I needed guests because they liked my podcast.
Yeah.
Let me
Can you send me that
see.
link?
I'm working on it. I gotta find it again myself. They
Wow.
send me emails and yeah, you'll get. I've never had to get. I never had to go and scrounge for guests. Weird, right?
Because I know you reached out to me, I believe, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you did.
Well,
But
it's one of those things that I never get. I try to do this cross podcasting thing, but the problem I have is that I'm good at this, and this. Most of the time, the topics of the conversation are like, I have nothing I can offer this podcast. You know, I try to
so
be able
let
to
me get this
offer
straight.
something.
So things I want to know: interviews and conversation with people. It doesn't matter if they're musicians, they're they're magicians,
No,
they're
that one we're selective on. The things I want to know is things that Andrea and I both agree on that we want to talk to this person about their field or occupation.
But the one you said you had line up and busy till June
Yeah,
is Paul
I
G's
had.
Corner.
Well, they're both busy till June. Um,
Wow.
the uh, the first one, things I want to know is where I got all the guests from, and I had so
Okay.
many guests, and I was like, I can't. We do one a week. There's no way I get 300 people. There's no
Wow.
possible way I could talk to all those people. You know what I mean? So that's
But
why I
Paul
did the
G's
other one.
Corner
So
doesn't. Yeah, Paul G's Corner doesn't tell me exactly what you talked about on that one. How different is that one from the other one?
well, Paul G's
Oh, here
Corner.
he is.
Uh-oh, what happened? The kitty cat? Paul G's Corner is all about the person and what they do and who they are. And we want to talk to them. I want to talk to them. I give
Wow.
everyone a voice. I do the same opener. It's like a radio program, like a live radio program, and I don't cut
Hmm.
it. I just put it out. And it's when you listen to it's the same intro every time. In the intro, I say, you know, there's people lined up to be on the podcast, but they're only to get usurped by something we've never heard of.
Hmm.
So to give these good people a voice, I started this podcast. It's in the intro. Yeah.
Because it's so
Died again.
difficult for me to even get to 1,000 subscribers, and I should be already past 100 episodes. It was getting so difficult to get 100 episodes because I only do like 4 a month, and
Yeah, I do 3 a week. I do 4 a week technically.
wow, I gotta
Yeah. But
do that. How many listeners do you?
Paul G's Corner only lasts 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So there's the thing. It's also for a different, little bit different audience. It only lasts 30 minutes. The other one's on up to 2 hours.
Okay.
And so I keep it short to catch the people who just don't have the attention span for the other one.
Okay, maybe I can learn from you and try to cut my podcast down to an hour. I'm trying to, but there's so much. And you're sitting there and thinking, boy, this podcast ended up 3 hours and I have to eliminate 1 hour of this good stuff, you know? So I had to put up my friend who is an actress. We did a 4 hour podcast and we were actually, yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to cut you out. You know what I mean? It's kind of tough.
Well,
So,
keeping it to an hour is probably um hour and a half is probably the best as far as keeping people listening.
so yes, Paul, that's amazing. So, are there top three professional books that you would recommend to others, whether it's writing or filmmaking or podcasting?
Okay. Well, if you're trying to write screenplays, because that's where you have to start if you want to make a movie. You can't make a movie without a screenplay. Save the Cat is a great book by Blake Snyder. Now Blake is dead, so you in the book it says contact me, and you can't contact him. He's passed away. But Save the Cat is really really good. And then Sid Field, uh, he did a book called Screenplay, and then The Writer's Journey. These are the ones I have in my actual uh, um, my own library. The Writer's Journey: Mythic Structure for Writers. Uh, it's a great book, and Christopher Vogler.
Okay.
And I cannot recommend those books more. And then, of course, if you really want to get into it, you can start reading Robert McKee, story, substance, structure, style, things like that. McKee's a good book to read. He can be rough, unfortunately. And you know, and you just go down the rabbit hole. Everybody writes a book when it comes to this stuff. So I invite anybody that wants to talk to me too. You can email me at paulg@paulgnewton.com. Be glad to talk to them. If you're looking for somebody to help you out with some technical stuff with your audio, things like that as well, you know, you have problems, feel free.
Yeah. I'll ask my co-host Kylie if she'd like to be interviewed by you, because she's also a podcast host, and she has a podcast called Talk of Fame podcast, and she's almost at 150 episodes, and she's really good.
Nice.
So she's my co-host for some of my podcasts, and she's really good.
Nice.
So I'm
Nice.
surprised. But yeah, so sorry if I had to talk about well, I mean,
don't
I didn't
care.
really mind talking about dating and stuff like that. I think it's pretty interesting. What's your feedback?
Everybody wants to know about it because it's very, I need to write a screenplay about it. It's what I need to do. But it's
You should.
51 First Dates. They've already made that movie. It's like, what am I supposed to do?
Okay, my friend. Well, I'm going to post this probably next month sometime, if you don't mind. It's not
Okay.
going to be every 2 weeks like you do, or every week or
Every
every
week.
2 weeks? Every week,
I do.
yeah.
Paul G's Corner does 3 a week, and then Things I Want to Know does every week.
Well, I'm not like that. I can't do, I can't do like a podcast with somebody and upload it in 2-3 days, because you got to edit it and you got to add all these bells and whistles like I like to do. And
Interesting thing about what I do is all my bells and whistles are in the beginning. Mine is completely live, like a radio program. I got this board here.
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun,
That's my theme song, right? I play it right on top of it and just go on. I even have my own. I even have my own little effects that I put on top of it. So anything that I want, just dump it into the board, right? And it's so much fun. It's just I need to put the bees back in. They had bees that was like, bzzz. But I don't use sound effects on my show. I mean, I just do that. I just do it live, and I walk away from it. It's done. So you're healing. If with mine, anytime somebody's listening to my program, it's exactly if you were sitting in the room. The only time I cut it out is if somebody's coughing, or if there's a huge technical glitch. That's the only time I cut anything. So it's exactly how the conversation went, and it's interesting because you get to hear us screw up.
well, I'll tell you one thing, my friend. It's hard to edit a video and having to do this, because sometimes it took me 2 months to edit one video, because the guy not only recorded in his own audio track, but I had to take that audio track and put it on top of the original, and then there'd be an echo. So I had to cut where he was talking, and then I had to I had to silence his audio, so only a stereo version. And then you see me talking, but you don't see anything coming out of my mouth, because I had to silence that part. It was just anyway, I posted it finally. And
well, there's all sorts of tricks. That's why I recorded an Audition, because we're recording an Audition, which is a professional sound editing software. I recorded that just for that, because there's a trick that you can do with dynamics that makes all that go away.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's like
let's see here if I can. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'll show you here. That's the board.
Oh,
you can see past the wires.
Yeah, that's the Rode Pro, isn't it?
Rodecaster Pro 2, yeah.
Yeah, Rodecaster
and then,
Pro, yeah.
I got my big old lights.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got to get one of those too.
They have a little strip light you can use.
I got to get one of those, because the light will change every so often. It's beautiful in the beginning, and then the sun changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but so that's the best way. And then, of course, I've got a switch for the video. you can't see. Still there?
Cool. Yep, right here.
All right. This stupid thing. What happened to my video? Golly, I've had so much trouble today.
I thought you shut it off.
No, I didn't.
It only
It's just
allows
having
me
issues.
to edit the mic settings. That's it.
It's having issues.
Okay, we'll just end it here. What I'll
Okay.
do is I'll just post
Maybe.
like a screenshot of you so it looks like, there's a glitch or something.
Yeah.
That's why I did it with one podcast. I had my friend in the background and I wanted to eliminate him. So what I did is I took a screenshot of me like,
I'll send you a picture that you
You
can
know.
use if you want.
yeah, send me for the thumbnail. I definitely need one.
Okay, I'll send you a whole bunch of stuff.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And your socials, where we can find you, and
Yeah.
a little bio. I can use the one on Matchmaker, no big deal.
Well, you can do one on Matchmaker, or you can use the one on paulgnewton.com. There's
Yeah,
a
no problem.
about me kind of thing there.
Thank you, Paul. I really appreciated this conversation, and
Yeah.
it was wonderful. You made me feel peace, and you made me feel like I was talking to an old friend. I really appreciate that.
And that's how I roll. Appreciate you.
Excellent. Well, I have another podcast coming up, so we have to say goodbye.
Excellent.
So shall I talk to you later, I guess? Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you very much for everything. See you, Paul.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Let me end this. Bye, everyone.